Hey, you guys, welcome to the Starlit Shelf. If you've been here a while, then you know that I talk about indie books and authors a lot. And there's a reason for that. Not only do I have a business centered around helping out indie authors and promoting indie books, but I genuinely believe that some of the best, most creative stories are coming from indie authors right now. But I also know that there are a lot of misconceptions and myths surrounding indie books. So today, I want to talk about why I believe that more readers should be giving these books a chance. And it's not because I think that traditionally published books are bad, but because I believe that all of these books deserve a chance to be on our bookshelves. What's funny is that I actually read and loved indie books before I even knew what indie books were. I read books like Zodiac Academy and the Mindfuck series and fell in love with them, but I had no idea what self publishing really meant. I assumed that every book on my bookshelf had gone through a traditional publisher. But it wasn't until I started the Starlit Shelf that I really started to notice how much of the publishing world I had never seen. Working closely with indie authors has truly opened my eyes, and I am still learning so much. And I've been doing this almost a year. And once I began learning how much goes into indie publishing, it completely changed the way that I look at books. So, what makes indie books different? The biggest thing that I can think of is freedom. Indie authors aren't trying to fit into a publisher's expectations. That means they can take more creative risks. They can write unusual stories. They can mix genres. They can write for a smaller audience. They can experiment with plot twists and endings and characters that don't currently fit into the current trends. And yes, sometimes that means the book isn't for everyone, but it does mean that you will discover something that you haven't ever seen before. And this is the author's true creative work without any filters. I talked about this topic in a short earlier this week, but one of the biggest myths about indie authors and indie books is that they are of lower quality. And that just simply is not true. Are there indie books that still need more refinement? Of course, but there are also traditionally published books that need the work too. The publishing path an author chooses doesn't determine the quality of the book. What does often determine the quality of the book is the amount of time, experience, money, and professional help that went into a book. Many indie authors get editors, proofreaders, cover designers, character artists, just like traditional publishers do. The only difference is it is coming out of their own pocket. I emphasize this a lot, but readers are so incredibly important and impactful and powerful in an indie author's life. And this is why. Every time a reader leaves a review or recommends a book to a friend or makes a post about it, you're helping that book reach people it would not have reached otherwise. For indie authors, especially, word of mouth can completely change the trajectory of their book. One of the best parts about running the Starlit Shelf is that I have discovered some incredible authors and books. And these are books that I probably would have never picked up otherwise. Books that made me laugh, books that made me cry, books that took me by surprise. Books that help to remind me why I love reading so much. If I only sought out what was trending, I would have missed out on these incredible stories. I want to be really clear about something. This isn't about choosing sides. I am a huge indie author advocate and I never shut up about them, but I still read trad books. I still read trending books. I still read books on the bestseller list. This isn't indie versus trad. Traditional publishing has brought us some incredible books, but indie publishing has too. I just believe that indie books deserve a bigger place in the conversation than they currently do. If you've never picked up an indie book before, let this be your sign. Try one. You might discover an indie author before anyone else does. And if you already love indie books, I'd love to hear about them. Leave me your favorite indie recommendation in the comments below.